Human beings are being attacked by outside forces. That's a fact. From the increase in people feeling targeted by technology, to dark spirits, to demons, and even alien abduction. Something is interacting with us, and it doesn't care about our free will. Parawareness has been exploring this subject mostly through the lens of the targeted individual, but the point of this channel was to examine all of the possible causes for these attacks. Throughout human history, we've always been connected with spirit, but in the last 200 years, we've lived in a materialist world. Before materialism, there were people known as mediums and death doulas, whose job it was to help spirits cross over into the light after they passed. But since the takeover of materialism, mediums hardly exist anymore. What if these spirits, too confused to go into the light and with no one to help them, what if this has created a buildup of negative spirit attachment? Today I'm talking with a spirit healer named Sara, who has specialized in this work for decades and believes this could hold a key to everyone experiencing negative interactions from unseen forces.
There's a difference between a belief that you're safe and a knowing that you're safe. I got this very strong call over and over again in my consciousness and my meditations. I was hearing this. We need more mediums. We need more mediums. We need more mediums. Like these spirits have to get crossed over. They have to be crossed into the light, or else we're getting to a point of like critical mass.
Either it's our perception is being altered of what is actually happening, or we actually see the phenomenon work through other people to mess with us.
They play on the weaknesses of the boundary that connects us. So it's strengthened by light. Imagined light is the same as actual light. So if you close your eyes and you imagine light around you, the photons actually also appear in your brain. So there's more photons that actually appear when you imagine light. Imagine it's like a shield, like it is your shield. So the more light you imagine around you, the stronger your shield will be. Problem is that if there's already stuff attached to you, that's not gonna really help.
Every experiencer has to overcome ontological shock, and we have to do it while the world says we're crazy. At Parawareness, we explore life through the paranormal lens, emphasizing psychology and spirituality over technology. This is Parawareness. Welcome to Parawareness. This is my interview, my discussion. We won't call it an interview. That sounds too formal. We're going to say this is a discussion with my new friend, Sara. She goes by Shahana Light in our group. And we did tried to do a video last week, and we got cut off by a tornado that it almost hit my house. And so, but now we're gonna get into it real quick. So Shahana's background, her mother was a Catholic. Her dad had things like out-of-body experiences, and he met with psychics and mystics. And then along the way, she got an autoimmune disease. And then so she was dealing with all this pain. She took this, she started taking medicine, ended up having a pill problem. And then next thing you know, she's in rehab. And in rehab, that's where you discovered God in a way.
Came back to God.
Yes. Oh, there you go. Exactly. Right. Came back to God. And at first you felt like a fraud because you were like, well, I'm saying the things that you're supposed to say when you're in rehab or AA, that kind of thing. But I don't know exactly, it doesn't feel right yet. And then, of course, what I was fascinated to hear when we first talked was that after you got out of rehab, you had a friend in this school called the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. You guys hip it up and call it SWIHA. Yeah. And so SWIHA, I had never heard of that, but now it's on my radar. And so your credentials are great. Like you've done all this life coaching for people. You got into psychotherapy, which then got you into like shadow work and dealing with the subconscious. And then, of course, you started learning Reiki. Is that how you say it? Reiki? Yeah, Reiki. And last week, whenever we were talking for that before the tornado interrupted us, she said, and light bulb shattered. And I thought about, a light bulb going off in your mind when you have an idea. And it was like, and I said figuratively, and she said, no, literally, light bulb shattered.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we're going to get deep into what I refer to as the phenomenon, which to me is, what targeted individuals go through and what experiencers go through, where we're getting these wild physical interactions and we're having these different things. So we'll talk about all that. So to start off, is there any part of your introduction, Shahana, that you wanted to add in there, or do you feel like that kind of covered what we need to cover? Is there another part of your intro?
Well, I just wanted to mention the hypnotherapy and the past life regressions and my work with kids with autism and telepathy. So,
really?
Mm-hmm.
So you've dealt with the telepathy kids from things like the telepathy tapes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They're amazing. Unfortunately, I never got external verification. But I helped them build a telepathic network, which they use now instead of the Hill, because the Hill became a little too, I guess, like widely known. And there was like a lot of energies kind of like weakening the strength of it wasn't unsafe, but they wanted something that was a little more secure, a little more safe, that only telepathic people could get to. So it was amazing. I loved it. And I did get to meet with actual kids. Like this wasn't like some weird thing that I picked up. Like I've been working with kids with autism since I was 19. So I've been working with them on and off for 23 years. I had no idea that at some point that work and my spiritual work was going to connect. And it was mind blowing when the telepathy tapes came out. And I mean, still to this day, I believe they're the most, they're the most like above reproach souls on the planet. There's no like darkness about them.
You can just feel it whenever you interact with them on that plane or whatever you would call it. You can feel their energy and you just know, right?
Yes. I did kind of receive information that they're higher level consciousness beings that have kind of been like shoved into these lower level consciousness bodies, which is kind of why they don't speak and why they struggle with physical stuff. But it's also why they can kind of work behind the scenes to help raise all of our consciousness. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Now that is really cool. Okay. So now I'm like, okay, we have to talk regularly. I hope that we get to do this all the time.
Yes, we
because
do.
I really do. When we're talking about these kinds of things, with targeted individuals, of course, Parawareness, what we try to do is we try to say there are not really, we try not to see ourselves as targeted individuals because words have power. And the more that we proclaim ourselves to be under fire, the more we're going to say. And when we have actually in our group, right, we have learned that the more that we stay in that zone of always thinking, I'm being attacked, then you're perpetuating that to some degree. Now, the opposite is all, like the more that you tell yourself, I'm safe, the safer you will feel, but it doesn't work 100% just that easily.
There's a difference between like a belief and like that you're safe and a knowing that you're safe.
This is something that I've really been experiencing lately is that since these entities are in contact, whatever they are, they're in contact with my subconscious. And most targeted individuals, after they spend enough time, the entities fool us into thinking that we're actually talking with what I call our front mind. And they'll fool you for a while and into thinking that, oh, this is the conversation, while the actual conversation is in your subconscious mind. And you don't know that at first. And then once they'll reveal that to you at some point, usually. They revealed it to me one day a couple of years ago, and it was like, see, we can actually hear what you're thinking before you are aware of what you're thinking. And that's hard for people to understand how that's even possible or how you could even know that. But what there are little maneuvers that they do that it's like, they'll show you something like I remember Kevin from our group one day, he was walking along and they said, watch out, stop. And he stopped and a forklift almost ran him over. And had he kept walking, that forklift would have hit him. But the voices said stop because they knew what was about to happen, right? They can see the future in some way. Now, when you look at Dean Radin's research, he's with the Institute of Noetic Sciences. Yep. And so when you look at Dean Radin's research, he has shown that the brain lights up a full 5 to 10 seconds before the stimulus comes, right?
I just figured out why I was different. Remember, I was like, why am I not having these experiences? And every time I think about it, I keep being guided back to the reason that I have been protected is because of the hypnotherapy. Yes, meditation is great, but the hypnotherapy directly connected me to my subconscious every single time because it was working on accessing that altered state, which meditation, you can get to a relaxed state without getting to an altered state of consciousness. With hypnotherapy, you get to an altered state every time. And that altered state is where you connect to your subconscious. I got so practiced with this so often that it became extremely easy for me to take 3 deep breaths and be able to access my subconscious. Now, the reason that these entities can see a forklift before it's coming is because the subconscious plane, that subconscious place is what connects everything. It's like that base that connects everything, all thoughts, feelings, connection points. It all goes through that what is Dean Radin called it, the Nusa state, or the so it's that state where there's where you have access to everything else, and so it was my ability to access that state that protected me. Okay.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. All right. Yeah. So let me skip around a little bit here. And let's talk about with the targeted individuals. So for anyone who's not completely familiar with targeted individuals, it's what I see as a growing group of people who report, I would say, three main symptoms. Now, there's a wide variety of symptoms, but they all most of them come out of these 3 main ones: hearing voices, gangstalking. Now, right, that's a weird one. Yeah, it might be the hardest one for people to wrap their heads around, that this thing I'm seeing it happening in my environment. People will walk into a room and everyone in the room will turn and look at them and make a face or something like that. You know what I mean? It feels like, oh, there is a coordinated effort against me, clearly, because when I walk down through the mall, every single person's wearing red shoes and they point at me. It gets that weird. Yeah. And so the reason that I think that's happening is because either it's our perception is being altered of what is actually happening, or we actually see the phenomenon work through other people to mess with us. It happens with people's partners, that the phenomenon will start working through the partner, and the partner will almost they'll wake up later and go, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. So that's what I believe what we're seeing with gangstalking. But then the other thing, of course, is physical interactions from unseen forces. Right. So those are the main big three things that are happening to most targeted individuals. There's hearing voices, gangstalking, and physical interactions. So with those, Shahana, just to put it on record and get it out there real quick, you believe these are actual spirits. Is that right?
I believe it's multiple things. I think there's convergence of a lot of different things happening. I think there is, this is going to sound strange, but like over a year ago, I got this very strong call almost over and over again in my consciousness, in my meditations. Anytime I was like, relaxed, I was hearing this, like, we need more mediums. We need more mediums. We need more mediums. Like, these spirits have to get crossed over. They have to be crossed into the light, or else like we're getting to a point of like critical mass where there's too much of these like lost spirits roaming the fourth dimension or the fourth density, whatever you want to call it. And I think that has something to do with it. I do think that there has been an influx of energy for these spirits that never got crossed over. And they're probably more powerful than they were in the past.
I remember you telling on last week, whenever the video cut out and you kept talking, and that was actually the most fascinating part of the whole thing, because you said that the spirits that have the hardest problem crossing over are the people who pass suddenly, right?
Yes. So so almost all of us go into the light if like we just die of natural causes, or it's just natural, right? If it's violent and sudden death, then there's confusion. The soul doesn't know what's happening. And sometimes they'll see the light, but not know what it is and not go to it, and then get kind of stuck here. And they're incapable of crossing into the light unless there's a living person as an intermediary opening that light source for them.
Why? Can I ask why that is? Do you know?
It seems really, really bizarre, and I don't actually know what that is. But I do know that recently, anytime I've done these spirit releasements where, they don't like that. They don't like saying they're being released. They don't like saying we're clearing things, because they just need help. Honestly, these are like people that were alive and they died and they just need help. But anytime I open the light, like, it's like so many of them go through because it's just not accessible for them otherwise. So,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think that's part of it. But I do think that there's also this other alien element to it, that there are. I mean, when I was working with experiencers, I got to experience a lot of the universe. And although I've checked in here and there, I can't like speak to like the immediate present of what's going on. But there's this infinite war that happens at a certain level of the fourth dimension that it's always like these two groups of like, good versus evil is like so sci-fi. It's like, they were right. That just kind of like it's like an invisible battle. Like they're constantly operating on different kind of like energy levels that we can't really see. And the dark side does some really nasty, dark, weird, crazy stuff, like attaches like contraptions to people's crown chakras so that they can't connect to source. Like, and so that they lose all their gifts. Like, and what? So I do think that there's a lot of that going on as well. There's also, you know, like, there's like all these like weird, you know, like shadow beings and the creepy crawlies and the parasites and the, you know, it's like there's way more out there than we thought.
Right.
You know?
Well, and, you know, something that you said that I really, really appreciated was that when you think about back, you know, say like 500 or even 1,000, 2,000 years ago, throughout human history until just recently we got materialism took over. Nietzsche said God is dead. You know, we completely abandoned all beliefs that spirits were real, and even, I mean, swamp gas. We didn't think aliens were real. We didn't think UFOs. We didn't think that any of this was real at all, and that's the era that we are living in. And you said, well, imagine back in the day, you had doulas, you had death doulas, you had shaman, you had these people to help the deceased, the spirits cross over all the time. And then once our society shifted, now all these people who, when they go through a traumatic or a sudden death, a sudden passing, they don't cross over as easily to the other side. And now all of a sudden you've got this buildup. And it's almost like we're a powder keg right now that we got to let off the steam. And that's why you received that message that we need more mediums, right?
For sure. Because here's the other thing is there's this, like, because of that, what you were just talking about, that like cutoff in history, there are these wonderful schools in Great Britain and over in Europe that are for mediumship, and they're amazing, but they only deal with those that have crossed over into the light. And they completely deny that spirits don't cross into the light. They completely deny it.
Why? Because is it fear-based or something?
I don't know. I think they don't know how to deal with those kinds of spirits. If they're still here and interacting with us, like, and they completely deny, like, that's like, you're denying like poltergeist, you're denying like, you know, like house spirits, you're denying all of these people's experiences, but why? And I know like that's not the case, because I was always kind of drawn to like the weirder stuff, you know? So like, yeah, so of course I'm going to be the one that crosses over like the ones that are stuck here. Right. Yeah. And when I was taking my spirit releasement class, man, I wish they had taken a video of it. I did the demo because it told you, I'm like, I always want to be the guinea pig. And I did the demo, and like the spirit, the attachment that had been there for a while, why we gave it space to inhabit me and to actually like speak through me. And the whole class was like, holy crap, like that wasn't you for like the whole time he was talking. That was not you. And I was like, yeah, I know, I was there, but I couldn't I couldn't do anything. I was just like, this guy, he's crazy. In the background. Well,
yeah, it's like, well, welcome to channeling. I mean, that's all it is, you know.
It was crazy. But because of that experience, I mean, I was in a safe environment. It was good. But because of that experience, I never allowed another spirit to inhabit my body, inhabit my being, because it was a violation. It was a violation. Pure and simple.
Let me ask real quick then, because we are going to end up talking a lot about sovereignty. Right. So you're a sovereign place. Your body should be a sovereign place. And you should, and I've heard this so many times because I've been looking for answers to this stuff of why is this happening to me, and how come. We'll talk more about this too whenever you want. But why do some people have such drastically different results than others? And that's a big deal. But when you look at these channelers, I mean, I guess some people say I'm making the decision to let this being come through. And I'm sure that most channeler stories that I've heard, I think they usually have a rough time for a little bit in the beginning while they're adjusting to, right?
So I channel but it's just telepathically. I won't let them, come fully in. It's just in my thoughts. And what's interesting is that this work, all this work that I do, there's always kind of a spike in the flares and pain and physical stuff for me. No matter what kind of protections, whatever, it's almost like I was, once I kind of hit past that point where I was like, this is my world, and I love this space, and I love being in the woo. All the physical stuff started to get a little bit harder when I was in the woo more often, if that makes sense. It was coming back into my body would be a little bit harder. So, I do think that so many of the beings that are interacting with us are not as limited by physical bodies.
Right. Yeah. And, I've been looking at it since you and I have been talking more, I've been kind of watching it and thinking about, okay, so when do most TIs, targeted individuals, and experiencers who are having a rough time? So we'll just say TIs, right, as the people who are having the rough time. But when do the physicals get the worst? And so it's the people who use drugs. It's the people who indulge in powerful sexual practices. The people who indulge in it. So what I was looking at was, okay, well, imagine a spirit that's like, well, I want to dip my toe in. So because I don't get to be I don't get to experience physicality anymore. So I want to dip my toe into that person's physicality, and the more energy they're putting out, the more I'm going to get from it and be able to experience it myself. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah. And then you imagine all of these years and all of these beings that haven't, the longer they stay stuck here, the denser they become. So the more impact they can have on the physical reality. They do get more stuck to whatever, where, the physical space that they've, that they've died. They'll get more stuck to that physical space the longer they're here. And I think that might be partially why they attach to people, because then they don't stay stuck in that space. But you are most vulnerable to attachments when you are drinking, when you are doing drugs, when you are in a hospital, when you are deep in self-loathing or self-pity, when you are super stressed out, suicidal, when you're really depressed for a long time. So they play on the weaknesses of the boundary that connects us, and the boundary that, it's the electromagnetic field of energy that surrounds us is weakened by all of those things. So it's strengthened by light. Yeah. Imagined light is the same as actual light. So if you close your eyes and you imagine light around you, the photons actually also appear in your brain. So there's more photons that actually appear when you imagine light.
Wow, that is cool. Okay, I didn't know that. Right, because what I've just recently been learning about the energetic biofield, and it's fascinating because when you think about it, right, like you look at the galaxy, and the galaxy has this center core with this stuff spinning around it, and then you think about like the Oort cloud, of the solar system, and that's a cell. Right, with it has like a membrane in a way, and then you think about the like an atom and a cell, and everything has a membrane, and some things you can see the membrane, and some things you can't. And what I've been learning lately is that we each have a membrane that extends out beyond what we understand, and that so we're like a little ecosystem in a way, right?
Mm-hmm, for sure. And when you're sick or negative or angry, like that dark energy extends out further than when you are light and positive and happy and free. You're like, it's more dense, but it's closer to you. So the darker you get, the more it extends out. So you affect more people with the dark stuff than you do with the light. Because the light is like, it's more powerful, but it doesn't spread as quickly or spread as far. Let's put it that way. So like the people that are, closely around you get super affected by the light. But in the dark stuff, like, it's like everybody. It's like all your neighbors. Is like, so it's weird how that, I don't know how that works, but I do know that if you are aware of it, you will see that your kind of negativity and darker will affect like a wider kind of range around you.
Okay, and so you're saying that when you think about light and photons being in your bubble, if you will, then it actually creates more light in your bubble, right?
Yeah, which will strengthen that. And therefore, it's like, imagine it's like a shield, like it is your shield. So the more light you imagine around you, the stronger your shield will be. Problem is that if there's already stuff attached to you, that's not going to really help. It's going to help from the stuff that's, nothing else will come in. But if there's already stuff attached, that's got to get out first, because it'll continue to affect you.
Is there a danger of strengthening your membrane while something is in there, and then it won't be able to get out because your membrane is stronger?
No.
Is that a thing? Okay, good.
No, because it's kind of like it's like a semi-permeable membrane. So it's like nothing comes in, but whatever you don't want can come out.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And you can also, this is really cool. This is something that I don't know that a lot of people know, but you can customize all of it. So you can be like, hey, all right, this light that I'm going to imagine is actually light that only allows in the good stuff, but doesn't allow any of the harmful things, and will allow the harmful things out, but won't allow any of the good stuff out. And then it's customized light that you have charged with your intention. And then you have a meditation, you see it, you visualize it. Visualization is super strong, but your intention is strong too. And so if you have these like intentions that you put into the light, then that's what follows.
Perfect. Now, as far as manifestation goes, because my spiritual journey, as sad, as kind of maybe sad as this is, I think it's a beautiful thing, but most people would see it as like little kiddie toys. But my spiritual journey really kind of started with a book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. Have you ever heard of that?
In 8th grade, I tried to do a book report on that book.
What?
And my English teacher wouldn't let me.
Why? Because it wasn't.
Because he said that the content was too advanced for a 12-year-old. And I was like, no, this 12-year-old. No, but it was my dad. My dad had the book. It was my dad's influence. But yeah, so we both have a very similar introduction. So tell me more about.
Yes. So in that, I read it when I was 26 years old. That was 26 years ago. And it's taken me 26 years to kind of really start to wrap my head around what manifestation is. So I read up on Neville Goddard. Right. I read up on Neville Goddard and I read a lot of the conversations books. And then so when I started looking at manifestation and reality creation and how much a lot of people don't understand that this is a huge factor in what we're all doing here, that we do help to create our environment that we experience with our thoughts and our intentions and our emotions too, all that, right? And so what we're talking about is that we, through those intentions and those thoughts and those imaginations and all of it, we're creating our actual biofield and other stuff too, right?
Correct. Absolutely. I think it's like a co-creation. There's like, while we're creating it, it's creating us. So there's like this interchange always. There's always an exchange of information going on, and like to say like the universe is creating us. Like, what does that mean? I don't know, but I know that it's not just us. I know that it's not just us creating it. I also know that there's another unseen force that shows up, and it's not these entities. It's far more powerful, and it's usually driven by belief.
Right.
So there's a very strong shift in the collective consciousness belief. And I feel it. And I usually shift and change my beliefs too along with it, because it's powerful stuff.
Now we know that the collective conscious, I guess was the Jungian term, I think, was the collective unconscious or something like that. But so when you think about the collective, language itself inserts creation into our world without our acceptance, without us being involved in it, because someone else can come up to you and they can punch you and you can't stop them. Right? Someone else can say a word to you that you don't want to hear and could trigger you. And they are therefore helping to create your reality. So that because we do live in a collective of other souls, then we do have to deal with the fact that other people can also cause our reality to be different than we want it to be, maybe. What do you think about that as far as when we're talking about manifestation and reality creation? How do we deal with that problem that other people can enslave us and they might be more powerful than us and, that kind of thing? Do we, if we believe enough, maybe as Jesus did, if we believe enough in our power, in our ability, in our God, in our whatever we have given our energy and belief to, if we believe enough, can we do anything?
I mean, this is, you're operating off the assumption that we are separate from each other, that we are distinct, different, beings that aren't in some way like, I don't know. I guess there's my way of understanding is that there's if there's truly no separation, right? If there's connection between all of us, which there's too much that we've experienced to not believe that, then, okay, I can't control what other people are going to do to me, but I can control how I react to that. I can control what I choose to take away from that experience. Do I choose to take that and like find any little morsel of good I can and then run with that and focus on that because it serves my progress? Then yeah, I mean, okay, but we can't control other people, but we also can be so incredibly surprised and pleasantly amazed and in awe of other people. So there's always this positive side to anything that you can choose. That is completely within your control. And so there is this piece of the TI phenomenon that, you know, my little control freak brain goes like, no, but I can, but okay. It's in the surrender often where we find like the best gifts, where we find the best solutions is when we surrender, right?
I have a book that I love also that I think I ended up reading because of Neil Donald Walsh, which is called Illusions by Richard Bach. And if you haven't read it, you should definitely.
I love Richard Bach so much. Oh,
it's so good. It's so good.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You've got to pick up Illusions because in that it has a quote that says, every problem has a gift for you in its hands. We seek these problems because we seek those gifts.
Yes. When you get to a point in your development, your consciousness, whatever, where you start to see like roadblocks and obstacles and problems and challenges as like, ooh, okay, yeah. This will make me learn something. I'm excited. Let's go. When that shows up, then you can like let's pat myself on the back. Like I have arrived, because that's the place where life, man, it just everything changes, because life gets like really, really good then, because then you're not focused on problems. You're focused on everything that you can get out of life.
And we're talking about relativity in a way, right? Like everything has different viewpoints you can look at it from, just like with your house. If you go stand in the back of your house, it looks quite different than it does if you stand in the front. And so perspective, it rules everything. And so I do find it interesting that, here I am. I know all these things. I know them in my heart. I know them to be true. And for 90,000 straight hours, I've had unseen forces grabbing me in places that nothing should be grabbing me other than maybe my wife. You know what I mean? Like I've had knives stabbed into my rectum for months at a time, literally every day, and so then what do? I say, it's just perspective. After 90,000 hours straight of it, you start to, that feels like a flimsy excuse. It feels like a flimsy defense sometimes, right? Do you know what I mean?
Dude, like the pain, the physical pain that I have been through, there were months. There was like a couple of weeks there, and I was like deep in spiritual stuff where I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like if this pain doesn't stop, like take me in 10 years. I can't do any more than that. I will not go any further than 10 years in this level of pain. I won't do it. And so you will take me. Like that's what I want. That's what I'm requesting. I'm doing it in a like sober, calm, absolutely like conscious state. Like this is so, yeah, 100%. Totally get that. And this is where we're going to do the reading.
Okay. that was interesting. I mean, yeah, there was a lot going on while you were talking. You know, I had a lot of physical stuff happening, and I still, you know, I'm still getting some of the main things that I've always gotten, which is lower back is where I'm always having problems. A spinal cord is right. Lower spinal column is a big deal for me. And so I'm still experiencing that.
That's where I want you to focus your visualization of the light.
The light. Okay.
That must be the entrance point.
Right.
There's a very, very strong correlative, like, between the weak points and like of our energy field and the pain that we feel in our body.
I really do feel that part of it is that I have fear that I think gives things an ability to latch onto me, because I don't have a lot of faith that good is stronger than bad, or that love beats narcissism, that love has the power to beat negativity. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's something I just learned. And then the other thing would be that, yeah. That's interesting. Okay. So, all right. So let's continue our interview here, our discussion.
Like a huge moment. Can we let's just take a beat for that one? Because wow.
That is the problem. And so that's something I'll have to, I'll have to look into. I'll bring that up to my therapist when I go back to her next week. That's for sure. I'll be like, hey, let's talk about why I don't think that that love can beat fear, because it might be, astrology could have something to do with it. Maybe we're talking about karma. Maybe we're talking about past lives. I need to do a past life regression, don't I?
Yeah, I was gonna say you might be talking about experience, because my experience shows that love always freaking beats out. Always. I mean, I even proof in my marriage, wasn't great, but man, the love was there, and now it's amazing because the love was strong enough, and I was like, love is going to be strong enough. And it was. And I mean, obviously that's not always the case, but then my experience with, man, it always goes back to it always comes back around, no matter what being I'm talking to, no matter what force of evil I'm working with, there's always this element that's that's silly. Maybe that's my the teacher in me, or I don't know, but there's always this element that's come on, that's not how it works, dude.
That's part of what I struggle with, is that I always say to myself when I'm doing journal videos and stuff, I'll always say, I don't even know if I believe in evil, because I've never met anything that was evil. And the only time that I've ever seen evil was on Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, or that's always this caricature of the worst evil you can imagine. They have no good in them. And then it's but that doesn't represent what we see in real life. Now, I know there are a very small percentage of the human history population that are, they're really messed up. I get that. But for the most part, that doesn't exist.
As far as humans go, I have met a demon. So I do know that pure evil does exist. I have met it. It's just as there is pure light. There's pure beings of light. There's pure evil too. it doesn't, the pure evil is like, we're talking like it exists in an entirely different dimension that you can't access it easily. There's enough evil in this in this dimension. There's enough of the mix that the pure stuff doesn't have to come here. It comes here as a result of like, ritual, like horrible things that humans choose to do to pull the demons into our reality. And they're so incredibly rare that like people label lots of things demons, but an actual demon is so rare that, I mean, my experience goes back so many years and I've only actually come across one once ever. And it's because I had a freaking dark portal in my son's bedroom.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, a dark portal in the bedroom that you had to go close. And, so I think that for all TIs, we all, well, not all, but most of us do feel like I am being attacked by a demon. You know what I mean? Like that's what we think. And what we don't understand is that, like, and maybe in the beginning, maybe at times it is more because in the beginning of almost every TI's experience, it's so much different for like that first 6 months to a year. Maybe even just like the first 3 months at times, but it's so different. And then it completely shifts and then it becomes into what it is now and has been for me for 9.5 years. And, that first 6 months, though.
What's so different about the first 6 months?
So the physical sensations were more friendly in a way, not completely, but a little bit more friendly. And then as soon as I started going, because I thought that this was actually that I was being interacted with by someone that I had a crush on, right? In the very beginning. And so it fooled me and it made me go, oh, this is someone that we're hooking up kind of astrally or something like that. And then as soon as I said, oh, no, actually, as soon as I said stop and tried to protect my sovereignty, you didn't respect that. And now I'm realizing you don't have my best interests at heart. And then immediately the voices go crazy with negativity and are saying, instead of saying, nice things and joking and stuff, all of a sudden it is, we're going to kill your family. We're going to kill you. We're going to kill this person. We're going to kill this person. We're in your mother's bedroom. We're killing her right now. And that's how it happens for a lot of TIs, like that guy, Ryan, that we talked to a lot. Great guy. He, he'd be sitting downstairs and he would, the voice would say, we're raping your daughter right now. And he had a little daughter and he would hear her screaming upstairs and he would run upstairs and she would just be asleep. Fine. And so that, and so those kinds of things like that, how could something that's not very close to extreme evil, how could they do stuff like that? But still, what do you think? I mean, is it they're confused spirits probably?
I mean, what came to me when you were talking was like, well, what would an adult human being that had lost its body want most?
Yeah.
And that sickened me a bit, but it also made a lot of sense why there are so many sexual encounters.
Yeah. Yeah. It really does make sense.
Yeah. Right. And then you add to it, like, something has shifted. Like, okay, that critical mass point must have happened. And it somehow gave spirits that otherwise would not have been powerful, more power.
Let's talk about that critical mass point.
I heard it with the kids with autism too. They said we're going to get to a critical mass point where it's like we are such a large and diverse population as humans now that there is that point of critical mass where it's like then everybody is exposed, right? So I think that's what happened. And I think that it's TIs that are like whatever it is specifically about the combination of seeking higher consciousness, but also still being kind of messed up. That like it's like you're still like really messed up, but you want to get better. And like so you have all these weak points, but you're aware enough that the weak points let them in. And then now they're able to telepathically communicate easily. They're able to, create scenarios of your child screaming upstairs. God, that's heartbreaking. They're former humans, so they know exactly how human brains work. They know exactly what makes us afraid most.
Do you think that the critical mass point, if we look at history and historical texts, do you think that the critical mass point could end up looking anything like a biblical kind of scenario? Wasn't there something in the Bible about that would be part of like Revelation or something like that? I don't know. It seems like there was something in there about that.
I get that sense too.
And, the voices did say to me before that they were like, no, you had your chance and this is going to be our world now. And but,
I got chills when you said it. There's some truth to that because if they have the capacity to manipulate, like, seems like they are.
Right. And if we crossed some kind of a certain point through whatever reason of what the world's going through right now, that they were like, okay, well, then now we're going to see a thinning of the veil possibly for everyone is what I worry about. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, well, there are certain populations that I think are always kind of protected, like old people and kids. They don't, I mean, kids have lots of experiences, but they're usually protected from like the being able to process the super scary stuff. They'll process it later when they're an adult if it happens to them, but they're at least protected by their level of consciousness, really.
By their not naivete, but their innocence, right?
Their innocence, right? Yeah. Yes, it does look that way. But here's the good news, right? So if we hit the critical mass point, that means that more and more people are going to be affected by this. That also means that more and more mediums are going to show up.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Exactly. That means that people like me, if I can clear out these things, then I could, maybe start to learn how to do some of this. And, I remember whenever I was watching, doing research to figure out what was going on with me. A video that really stood out to me was when I watched a video about a death doula. And then, of course, like one of my shows that I was addicted to for a long time was Crossing Over with John Edwards or Edward, right? Yeah. So, I mean, maybe
you are a medium.
Maybe most of the people who have had this kind of situation have an ability like that.
Yeah. I mean, we all have the capacity. I mean, we're all mediums. Like I remember when it was like the first time that I kind of talked to my grandfather, and I had like a mentor at the time. I remember being like, and I can't believe like I talked to my grandfather, and I was like, I really didn't think I was a medium. She goes, everyone's a medium. And I was like, you just have to learn. That's it. It's like we all have that capacity. It's just some of us are drawn to it and others aren't. And it's just a matter of like it's like fine-tuned discernment.
You and I talked about possibly some sort of a group hypnosis session for the TIs, and we were trying to figure out maybe like how that would look. And you brought up that you think that maybe the biggest problem is that there is too much doubt or connection, or what was it that we were saying exactly?
Yeah, or there's this attachment. Right? Like we don't necessarily know all of our hidden desires, right? And so when we don't have like that connection to our subconscious, there could be this like kind of lingering desire to keep these voices, to keep this in a way that because it kind of maybe it makes you feel special. Maybe it makes you feel like singled out, different, and that, who knows? But those things have to be consciously addressed before this process happens, because if you are subconsciously holding on, then they can't go. There's really nothing you can do if it's something you pull back in to your, like even if they go, but you keep pulling them back, then like you have to be aware of yourself and what you truly want, right? And I think that preying on sensitive people is like kind of what they do. It's ideal, because then they feel all the sensations. Plus you have the added like bonus of like you actually cared about these people.
Oh, so, right.
Care about, like, even if they're doing horrible things to you, sensitive people tend to care about who they interact with, like regardless of how they're being treated, right? And so that attachment will keep them there too.
Yeah, the vast majority of TIs are musicians and artists, photographers. Like, it's wild how many of us are, right? So
divergent.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yep. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else that you wanted to make sure to get into today's video?
No, hold on one second, because I'm getting a very strong pressure in my third eye, which is usually somebody's trying to contact me. So I just don't know if there's something I need to address there. 1 second. No, it was like, Sarah, you need to stop and go eat. You're going to pass out soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great. I just stay in touch. I want to know how you're doing.
Yeah. Because I'm still having some of the same things that I, it's still here. There are people still here moving around, So, but I'll keep you informed. We'll watch it and we'll talk again soon. Okay.
Thanks again.